materials and the critical areas with us, you can begin to look at some of the worked examples and activities. And then we'll look to also launch some materials where you can access online. We take you through a walkthrough as well. So in terms of Unit 3, the priority here, or the focus, is all about revenue. There's only one learning outcome, which is to identify, measure, and to recognize revenue from contracts. So the revenue standard, which is IFRS 15, really goes through a 5-step process in order to recognize revenue. And again, we'll talk through the absolute key points in each of these steps and to provide you with some illustrative examples of how you would approach and combat each of these steps. So with respect to these 5 steps, the first step is to identify the contract with a customer. Okay, so this is really an area where you don't have to worry too much because there's going to be a customer. Okay. Otherwise, you're not going to be recognizing revenue. And so the idea here is that there's an agreement between 2 or more parties that creates an enforceable contract with rights and obligations. And there's going to be a contract. And that contract doesn't necessarily have to be in writing, but it clearly specifies out the obligations from each party. So that's all you need to know for step 1. With respect to step 1, there's going to be an area known as combination of contracts. Okay, so when should we combine contracts? And this becomes quite controversial, which is what I'm going to emphasize on. So there are going to be cases where we need to combine a contract, and the key considerations are as follows. So first is that, are the contracts entered at the same time, and are they entered with the same customer? Are the contracts negotiated as a package with a single commercial objective? Usually these 3 criteria in itself will give you a lot of reasons to combine or to uncombine. And so if we look at an example here, which is this case where we've got a couple, which is this Mr. and Mrs. Parker. And they go to a company and they want to get their building renovated, right? Now, the key criteria in this particular example is that Mr. and Mrs. Parker, they are pretty much of the same unit. Okay, yes, they are 2 individuals, but they live in the same household. The second is that if we think about the timing of these contracts, they pretty much occur at the same time. And the objective here is, if you think about it, a renovation of a kitchen, renovation of a main bathroom, construction of a pool. The objective is really to renovate the house. And so in this case, it's going to become fairly obvious that we need to combine these contracts. And so here, what's happened is that the company has given a contract price to each of these services, which is going to be quite different from the normal selling price. And so what we need to do instead is that we need to look at being able to combine the contract and to use this normal selling price as opposed to using the contract price. And so there will be different incentives that companies have when they deviate from their normal price and to price things differently. But in this particular case, because the date in which the contracts are entered and the sole commercial objective is really one of the same, then we need to combine these contracts and use the normal selling price. So that's going to be the key requirement for contract combination. In respect to step 2, so the idea of a separate performance obligation. So I think you should, a very popular example that I'm going to use is that we all have mobile phones. And when you sign up for a mobile phone, you get like a phone and you get like these telecommunication services. But the idea here is that the phone is distinct to the services. And so there's really going to be two components in the contract. And so for each of these separate performance obligations, revenue is going to be recognized when you